Opposition parties are saying South Africa has become a war zone. As you know, crime stats were released today, and it paints a petrifying picture of life here. National Police Commissioner Khehla Sitole is with us. Always good to have you with us. What's gone wrong?
Thank you very much. Yeah, the crime stats, yes, has been released. And as they were released, they were also released together with the response that we are providing from the police. In general, the crime has gone down if you take overall, but the crimes of fear, which instill fear to the communities and making the communities to go on an outcry, those crimes are on an increase.
And that's rape, murder, attempted rape, sexual crimes, all of that?
Yes.
Right, the worst.
That's right. And that's where, as the South African Police Service, we then decided, let us provide a response that will make the community feel comfortable and enjoy their safety as outlined in the National Development Plan. I think firstly it starts with the police numbers. We presented the United Nations stats on the ratio of the police to the public. And at the present moment, the prescribed stat is 1:220. But here in South Africa, we are on 1:383. And we immediately decided, let us review the personnel plan of the organization.
Do you mind me interrupting here? I do want to talk about police, how many there are, figures, and what's been done about it. But let's just get the bad bit out of the way first. I mean, so we've seen a dramatic increase in murders. I mean, what is behind that? As you say, these are crimes that elicit incredible fear in the country. Yeah. Why are we seeing this spike? What is the problem there? Okay.
The first problems, you've got gang-related crimes, which as a result of gang showdowns, and we have experienced that is murders there. Then we also had the cash in transit heists, and then some of them were very violent, and then some of the robberies. Then on few occasions, interpersonal related, that is crimes. And we were then required to provide a stabilization response. We responded to the cash in transit heists, and then we went on a national stabilization, and we went on the stabilization of hotspots. And as I'm speaking, because the crime stats were released, they talk to the past picture. But as I'm speaking, the cash in transit highs have been completely stabilized.
Yes, I remember speaking to you when was at an all-time high, and you had elicited a response which clearly is working.
That's right. The same applies on gang prevention. We decided to deploy additional resources from national, and those resources are at the Western Cape as we speak, and then to assist on the gangs. The public response has been better because they felt that a safe and secure environment is being created.
Because sorry, what's interesting here is that in the Western Cape, I mean, that's where more reports come in, I think 4 or 5 years in a row.
I agree.
Why is it so prevalent there? Is that, and who are these gangs?
Yeah, look, I will obviously not be calling the names because we are addressing gangs through both the conventional and the unconventional policing approach.
And are these local gangs? Are we seeing an influx of international gangs?
There's local gangs, but there's also international link because gangs, they also have international links. But we've got more stronger gangs locally. Within the country. And there's also your masterminds in the gangs, whom we are addressing through the organized crime threat approach.
And sorry, these gangs, I mean, is it a drug issue? I know that a lot of gangs are behind kidnapping of people. What is their game plan in the country?
I think part of the game plan, which include their modus operandi, one, they are investing in our communities. Like, for instance, they will sponsor the education of children. They will buy people groceries so that they turn them against the police in return for protection. that is against the police. But at the same time, they will bring drugs that is in the car. They use drugs and then as one of their means, of living, so that they actually sell drugs and contaminate the whole country. Then they will fight. They will go on the gang showdowns because they want to threaten the communities. By the time we visited the Western Cape, there's certain children who could not go to school. And then because they fear to get into the street and move there. Hence, the stabilization deployment where we decided let's bring in national resources in order to stabilize this particular area. That stabilization still continues, but your gang, we follow the combat approach. We also follow the prevention approach and as well as the investigation approach. And as we are now dealing with the crime and we've gone through the stabilization process, we are now on normalization. And we are now going to the massive mobilization of the communities and also making modus operandi alertness and awareness.
And what does mobilization of the community mean? Getting the community more involved, getting them to hand people over? Again, how do you deal with that fear aspect?
Yeah. Firstly, we will be launching the community policing strategy now in October, early October. The community policing strategy is securing the involvement of the communities and where they should participate in the creation of their own safety. And then secondly, we're working with them. They work together with the police. But thirdly, we have a concept that we refer to as the community in blue concept. In terms of the community in blue concept, we're going to enhance the neighborhood watch, that is patrols across the country. So we are going to mobilize them so that they work with the police, but also your information capacity, so that they will be able to share. Part and parcel of enhancing this community, we have also introduced the youth crime prevention concept, where we're mobilizing the young people. We also empower them, and then to resist crime, we do target hardening.
Yeah, so you really have to start at the bottom, don't you? Excuse me interjecting. We've got somebody on the line from Pretoria. Brian, go ahead.
Good evening, Jane. I'd like to...
Go ahead.
I'd like to ask the Commissioner, firstly, the first one is whether he doesn't believe, or does he believe that the senior police have been state-captured or politically captured, and that's partly due to the bad statistics. And then, secondly, whether he shouldn't be putting a majority of his police through basic training again, and then start with basic training from the beginning with new recruits and get them more professional and focused in specific areas.
Thanks,
Thank
Brian.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Let me start with the training part and say, firstly, I accept the input because that's what is already been in my mind. Mm-hmm. I have already pronounced the total review of basic training in the police. It's going to be following the tactical response approach. So we are actually increasing the tactical reaction of the police. So the basic training, as from the next intake, it's going to be following the technical response. But then all the other members of the police who are at the police stations, they will also be retrained in terms of the tactical approach. So this particular suggestion is just coming at the right time.
And how do you get rid of the bad apples? Because unfortunately there are many, and there are also many who are drawing checks, at our expense and are involved in these crimes. I mean, when is it the right time to get rid of them and pump that money into bolstering up the police force?
There's actually no right time to take them out except the time they get contaminated. Secondly, we've launched the anti-corruption strategy, I think it's 2 months back. And I have introduced vetting. The whole HR policy framework is getting reviewed and is now inclusive of vetting. And then the lifestyle audit, I think the police we've been in the front line, and I'm sure you might have heard the president also relating to that.
Good.
Yes, so then the disciplinary code has got no eyes. I think starting from the very senior, and since I started, You know, there's very senior people, lieutenant generals, who has been suspended as a result of misconduct. Then Eastern Cape, past 3 months, we arrested 17 of our own. The past 2 weeks, we arrested 6. So that's how we get rid of them as they come. And I have indicated that I'm very jealous of the SAPS uniform, which is blue. The moment there's someone getting involved in corruption, I take that uniform and then exchange it with the orange uniform.
And where do they go? Because you know that so many criminals get caught and just immediately get let off again. I mean, how do you stop that?
Yeah, look, as SAPS, we are a crime-fighting organization. The moment someone gets involved in corruption, you change the status, you become a criminal. We are no longer a policeman, and we take you where you belong.
Right.
Yes, we proceed with the investigation beyond the disciplinary code. So that's what we do, and we are gradually getting rid of the rotten potatoes. And we are, at the same time, we are encouraging and motivating those who every day sacrifice their lives and make sure that this country is free of crime.
Good, and we're going to talk more about that. Let's bring in Selo from Pretoria. Go ahead, Selo.
Yeah, no, I just want to ask the general then. During 2010 World Cup, there was more police visibility and less crime was committed as a result of that, meaning that the government used more resources to protect people from outside. Then why not the same strategy is not applied now? That's my question.
Thank you, Selo.
Thank you very much for the question. I think firstly, we're comparing like 2010 and now. And then one of the difference is that during those particular time, in 2010, the police was at 200,000, the police strength. And then presently, due to budget constraint, Treasury direction, we scaled down to 191,000. And then while we have scaled down to 191,000, the population has increased from 52, 54, is now at 57.3. So one of the strategy that we refer to, firstly, we're increasing the numbers, the level, we're increasing the resources.
How are you going to do that? Because the State Treasury said today that the budget's going to be cut. Does that affect police?
Yeah, we have already worked on a business case for the police, and this business case is already supported by the minister, and the minister has already taken it, introduced the subject to cabinet. So this business case we presented to both cabinet as well as Treasury, and it's working exactly on correcting the personnel plan of the South African Police Service. And moving forward, the personnel plan will continuously respond to population increase. But maybe also to relate to the same strategy, we have embarked on a total review of the SAPS technological requirement. We have also joined hands. I've just returned from China and Thailand. We've joined the digital transformation world, because if we increase on our technology, you don't need too high numbers in order to respond to the crime. So we're also going to balance this with technology.
Okay, good. And getting sort of outside help can only be a good thing. Nigel, go ahead.
Good evening, Dutton.
Good evening.
Good evening, Commissioner.
Good evening, sir.
I would just like to ask you a question. You know, I've been listening to you guys, and you haven't said anything about what's going on with the human traffickers. You know, I'm from a community in Wentworth where, you know, stuff has been going on. Community has been, there's been things going on with our kids. Reports that there's been attempted kidnapping. You know, but the scary part is people are afraid to even go to the police because they know they're not going to get help. There is people that is now trying to assist with this new attempted kidnapping. My question to you is, why aren't you talking about it? Something that's serious in South Africa. So many people have been kidnapped, young kids. I mean, this evening today there was now an 18-year-old girl attempted. There's an attempt on an 18-year-old girl now today. You know. So my question to you is, why aren't you talking about human trafficking in South Africa?
Thank you. And in fact, we were going to get to that. I'm going to allow you to answer. I mean, statistically, there is nothing about children. So please answer his question first and then tell us why we don't have that information.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, firstly, with regard to the cases that relate to kidnapping, it's a new modus operandi that is just come into the country. We've done modus operandi analysis and we are responding. We have also further discovered that it's a transnational organized crime. It's not only affecting South Africa, but it's also affecting the other countries. And I think one of them is Mozambique and then Tanzania. Then it's also an international, that is crime. It's a crime that requires an investigation response. So the investigation approach has been enhanced. We've also introduced the multidisciplinary investigative approach, which brings all the investigation families to provide that is the same response. But the one obvious thing, we're also enhancing the training capacity so that we can be able to respond to crimes like this and the modus operandi.
Sorry, can I quickly interject here because we are running out of time? When it comes to children, I mean, we had a show last week. It was very emotional. You know, women telling us that they, lock themselves in the house. They don't want to walk out with their children in case they get snatched. So people are in a panic in this country about their children. The communities are saying that they're getting no communications from the police about what is happening. Can you promise us that communications will improve? And again, I want to know why we're not getting figures about not only kidnappings, but abductions, the murders of children, all of that kind of stuff. Why are these numbers hidden? Shouldn't we know?
Firstly, let me give you the assurance. Remember, I spoke to you about community mobilization. I spoke to you about community policing. I am personally leading the process of closing the gap between us and the community.
Good.
And the communities, they are going to be involved, direct interaction. We've got the National Crime Prevention Strategy beyond that. So the gap between the communities, it's actually in action as we're speaking now as part of the normalization. Then when it comes to the states, I think one of the new developments in the states, we've been able to provide clear statistics as required by the public on the farm matters. And I was asked a question about that, and my response was, we provided this as a response to the call by the client, which is the community. And what we are putting forth now is part and parcel of the call, is a service charter call, and it's part of the service promise. These stats will be provided.
All right, good. Because clearly people need answers and they want to feel protected by the police.
And we want to give them,
hold you to that.
And we want to give them what they want to know.
All right.
Yes, thank you.
That's good to hear. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
As always, Khehla Sitole,
Sure.
National Police Commissioner.
All right.